Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cheddar, and today we are creating a giant exhibit building with 2 habitats attached. If you're interested in viewing prior episodes of my EcoLife Zoo, be sure to click the card above. With that being said, let's get right into the video. So like I said in the intro, this area is going to be a giant exhibit building with 2 habitats attached. If you're wondering, this was my very rough sketch I made to start out. We're going to have a saltwater crocodile habitat and a North Island Brown Kiwi habitat in here. Along with this, we're going to have 5 exhibits, one being a walkthrough. We will also have a restaurant in this area as an incentive for people to come into the building. Now, this build's gonna come out in 2 parts because it's just such a large add-on to our zoo. In this part specifically though, we're gonna be building the exhibit area, restaurant, and the North Island Brown Kiwi habitat. That is a mouthful. In the next episode though, we will be bringing in our saltwater crocodiles. In the next episode, we're also going to be finishing up this area, so it just feels a lot more complete and put together. Now, I got started off by plotting out a foundation for this area. I ended up basing everything on the walkthrough exhibit because Girly Pop is gigantic. I've never done a walkthrough exhibit, and I was not expecting it to be that big, but hey, we're working with it. And the walkthrough habitat in question is going to hold our spectacled flying fox. I hope y'all know it took me 20 times to be able to say that properly. So even though I had a general layout planned, I was still unsure where to start, so I just went with what I knew I wanted. I began with the restaurant and went ahead and just threw the main building down and built everything up from there. Right next to the Outback Grill, we're going to have the Brown Kiwi exhibit. In the next episode, we'll be bringing in our saltwater crocodiles, so be sure to stay tuned. Before I continue, I do want to let my small but mighty group of viewers know that I am in college and I do also work full-time. With that, I have my finals coming up, so my posting schedule will be a bit scattered. Luckily, I'll be on Christmas break soon, so y'all will definitely be getting extra content during that time. Now, with that being said, I am by no means going to stop posting content. This is something I've always wanted to do as a kid, and I feel like I'm allowing little Cheddar to break through and finally become this person that I really want to be. And I feel like I'm really fulfilling those dreams I had as a tiny kid, so I will definitely not be stopping, but just know it might take a little bit for some content to come out in the next week or 2, but you will definitely be getting it. And no matter how big or small my channel gets, that doesn't matter to me. I want this to feel like a sense of community for my viewers, and I want this to be a safe space, and I really hope y'all will join me on my journey towards that. I know I just got really sentimental on a video about Planet Zoo, but I mean every word of it. Now, with that being said, let's get back to talking about the build. So after I placed down the basics, I went ahead and added the sign that you saw a bit ago while I was rambling, so everything just didn't look so bare. For this, I simply just used one of the base game fonts and some of the decor from the Australian pack. Now, if y'all ever get bored of the fonts that we have in game, there are creators who make custom fonts and they add them to the Steam Workshop. So if you're interested in something like that, I would definitely look it up and see what you can find. Now, the idea for this restaurant was that the guests would enter the building from the ground floor and then enter the abyss to go up to the 2nd floor where the seating will be. Now, you may think the guests can't come up here without any stairs, but they can! I was so excited when I found this out because pathing is the bane of my existence. Now, I'm sure everyone has issues with pathing, but I hope in Planet Zoo 2 it is greatly improved. I've heard the pathing in Planet Coaster is 10 times better, but I haven't played it yet, actually. I think I want to try it out over Christmas break, so y'all let me know if you'd be interested in seeing me play it for the first time. Now, after building up the, dare I say, building, sorry, that was not funny. Anyways, I decided I wanted to add in some Australian fencing to work as railing on the second floor of the restaurant. In my head, I was picturing our young guests looking down at the brown kiwis and just getting super excited from the view. Now from here, I decided to jump over to the other side of the build to, dare I say again, build up the shelter for the saltwater crocodiles. I had a vision for this area and I knew I had to do it now or I just would lose inspiration. I had some difficulty bringing my vision to life, but once I figured it out, I got super excited and just went for it. Now, after I finished the saltwater crocodile shelter area, I ended up moving on to the exhibit area. Now, in case y'all could not tell, I am a very indecisive person, and that is likely why my builds take so long, but that's not the point, okay? Due to this, I was really struggling with the exhibit layout, but to be honest, it was not that deep. With that being said, I had to cut out a lot of my indecisiveness, if that's even a word. I had to cut that out because y'all didn't want to see that. So in a bit, y'all will see that I used these amazing info signs that were created by Romano Populacious. I hope I said that right. So sorry if I didn't. They have some great items on the workshop that y'all should definitely check out. Now, as I said before, this area is going to have 5 different exhibit animals, so let's get right into some info about these little guys. Now, first up is the common death adder. They are a venomous snake residing in eastern and southern Australia. This animal is by no means endangered, but has been greatly affected by the presence of cane toads. Cane toads are an invasive species in Australia that were originally introduced to aid in controlling the population of beetles that were damaging sugarcane crops. Instead, they've negatively impacted the environment in so many ways. Now next up is the eastern brown snake, which resides in New Guinea and Australia. These snakes are the second most venomous in the entire world and are actually the most common cause of snakebite deaths in Australia. I must say, these guys seem very intimidating. Next up is the giant burrowing cockroach, which resides in northern Australia. These guys are actually, and I quote, the heaviest species of cockroach, and are actually a popular pet among bug enthusiasts. They do not have wings and are unable to climb, but they are some pro diggers. Fourth is the eastern blue-tongued lizard, but you may know them by their more common name, the blue-tongued skink. This is by far my favorite animal in this exhibit area. They, of course, reside in Australia. Y'all may be sensing a pattern here. And they are not endangered. These guys intimidate predators by puffing up, hissing, and even sticking their little blue tongue out. If that doesn't work, they will detach their tail, which will grow back later to use as a distraction. These guys are also kept as pets, but they need proper care in a large enclosure. And last but not least, we have the spectacled flying fox in our walkthrough exhibit. These guys live in northern Queensland, Australia, as well as in New Guinea. They are currently endangered due to habitat loss. This habitat loss has been caused by urban development as well as climate change. Now, all of this information can be found in the Zoopedia, so if you guys are interested in reading more about these little critters and maybe some other animals, be sure to check it out. Now, I know that was a lot of information, but I really hope you guys enjoyed learning a bit about our exhibit animals. So now let's get back to the build. So I started working on the second floor, and while I was building this up, I realized the restaurant is going to have a large demand, so it was so important that I add more tables. I just had all this space above the building and I didn't want to leave it bare, so I added in some more seating directly above the entrance area. Those above can watch fellow guests come into the... what's the word I'm looking for? We're just going to say the build. I had to adjust the roof quite a bit until it was just to my liking, and I probably readjusted it 2 to 3 times, but that's just because I get hyper focused on little things, especially whenever it comes to my builds. Now, I know this wall looks quite bare at the moment, but I have an idea for what we're going to do in the next episode to make it look a bit better. I'm sure I sound like a broken record, but if you've made it this far, please consider hitting the like button and maybe even subscribing. This channel just means so much, and your support really helps me reach others that enjoy my content like you do. So after I finished up the roof, I moved on to something I was quite excited for. From here, I began working on the North Island Brown Kiwi exhibit. I began by making a custom fence for this habitat just to get us started. Now, these little kiwis are technically from northern New Zealand, which is southeast of Australia, but I just couldn't resist having them in the zoo. These guys have such a unique look, and honestly, they kind of look like the creatures I would make in Spore as a kid. I'm not sure if anyone knows that reference, but I used to eat that game up. Now, these guys are vulnerable due to domesticated animals such as dogs and cats viewing them as a meal. And they are extremely vulnerable due to the bird flu. Luckily, vaccinations have been introduced to aid in the bird flu crisis. Now, I know this is quite sad, but it's really important to raise awareness to issues like this. Okay, let's talk about something to lighten the mood a bit. This is probably one of the coolest things about these guys. They actually have vestigial wings, I really hope I'm saying that right, which are essentially useless wings that remain after an animal evolves. Essentially, at some point, these animals didn't need wings, so their bodies adapted. Now, these guys are quite territorial, so we can only have 2 of them, but with that, they don't need a lot of space in their habitat, so they are a great animal for filling this small space. Now, after I finished up the custom fencing, it was time to work on the backstage area. As of now, this area is quite basic, but hey, we're just getting the main pieces down. I used the custom barrier I created for the quokka habitat, just like I did with all of our other habitats. Like I said before, I'm not going to remake something that I've already done. It's a waste of time. But you know what isn't a waste of time? Spending probably 45 minutes on that roof. I really outdid myself with that one. But, I mean, as an excuse, in my head, I feel like zoos probably use the same manufacturer whenever it comes to their barriers, so they all just look the same in other zoos, right? That's what I'm going with. That's the realism for today. Now, after this backstage area was done, I was just ready to get these little guys in. I was just so excited. Now, like I said before, we're gonna have 2 little kiwis in here, and that's the max amount we can have. So whenever they have children, we need to really make sure that we're keeping track and making sure that they're not overpopulated. Now, our first North Island Brown Kiwi is Monaro. He is our male, and he is a small but mighty little guy. Now, our second Kiwi is Cam. She is a female and our first albino animal in the zoo. If you guys have any name suggestions for our future Kiwis, be sure to leave them in the comments. Now, after putting these guys in, I was able to see exactly what they needed from this habitat, which was quite a lot of coverage. I'm sure y'all know I was so excited by this. It was like a gift from the gods after I had to put such a small amount of coverage in the koala and red kangaroo habitat. Oh my gosh. Like always, I started by working on the area by the barrier. From here, I worked from the space near the backstage area towards the front of the habitat. This allowed me to place items intentionally rather than just placing them haphazardly and getting a bit frustrated or confused with where it was going. After I finished off everything you see here, I sped up the game to complete our vet research, but guess what I did? I did not hit record, so I just don't have the footage of myself completing the habitat or finishing up the exhibits, but hey, stuff happens and that's okay. Luckily, I can give you guys an awesome cinematic of how these spaces turned out. Now, I know this is quite an abrupt end, but there will be more coming soon next week. Now, thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far, be sure to hit the like button. If you'd like to keep up with EcoLife Zoo, subscribe so you don't miss it. In our next episode, we'll be finishing up this giant build and bringing in our saltwater crocodiles. Alright, I'll see you on the next one. Bye guys.